Folks, Evil DM here. I'm back with another video for Star Wars. This is our Papers and Parsecs section of D6 Star Wars, our limited series here on the channel. Going to be talking about D6 Star Wars. This week we're going to talk a little bit about game mastering and being prepared for an adventure and some little tips. And the book has some good tips on page 26, I think. Yeah, 26. But first I want to get into when you first start to run a Star Wars game. The first thing you want to do when you're jotting down information on a piece of paper or trying to figure out, your group's like, yeah, we're going to play Star Wars. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to run Star Wars. Crap, what am I going to do? So first thing you want to do is pick what era you're going to play in, because there is so many different eras you could play in for Star Wars that allows you to do as you want. And canon be damned. Who cares what happened when? It's your game. You're playing with you and your friends. And things are going to happen and things are going to change. You can't shoehorn things in. Perfect example is you can't, shoehorn the events in of Order 66 and hope Order 66, stop Order 66 or not stop Order 66. But it's going to happen. My advice for you when picking an era, just pick with it, stick with it, and try to push yourself away from the major events as possible, unless you really want to involve yourself in these things. But then you have to tell the group that, hey, we're going to be playing during the Clone Wars era time. Okay, so we're not really going to be involved in the massive battles, but you're going to be involved when the turmoil is happening. The Separatists are going to be here, but you're going to probably be on the Outer Rims or somewhere where it's not really affecting the entire war itself. It's a good way around it. Or we'll say that you're part of the Resistance and the Empire is on. So you're in between episode 4, around there, 3 and 4. The Empire has risen. Luke Skywalker isn't really a thing yet. He's still growing up on the farm. And, he isn't the Resistance, chosen one that he's supposed to be. Leia is obviously with the Organa is with the Senator and not somebody known yet. She's still princess, but not really known for it. Han Solo is probably out there smuggling something or other. Maybe in his younger youth, running around doing something. You don't know. But you probably will not meet him or any key characters. If you do, keep it to cameo appearances. That's another thing. When you're done picking your era, and say you pick in the Resistance era, which the book set by default, you have to decide, am I going to have any involvement from the key characters like Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Darth Vader, the Emperor, Boba Fett, whatever. You have to decide, are you going to have these cameos? Good idea and rule of thumb is really not to involve them whatsoever, because players in general come to expect and have their own conception of how these characters will be played. What I think of Darth Vader compared to what you think of Darth Vader might be two different things. And if I run the adventure and I play Darth Vader and I don't play Darth Vader exactly the way you think it might be played, it could ruin the experience for you and you may not like it. With that said, you can always do it and tell them, well, this is how Darth Vader acts. And as long as you try to stay true to the character, there should be no problem with that. But again, these key characters in the stories and the movies and everything and the cartoons, however you want to play it, should only be there as cameo appearances and just to maybe help out once in a while. They shouldn't be used as a crutch. Maybe in a really heroic scene, you're about to, be blasted out of the sky. There looks like there's no hope left. Boom, Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon with Chewie in there. It comes out of nowhere. Hey, kid, I just saw that you were in trouble and I decided to help out, or something like that. Luke sent me because he heard your distress signal. Something silly like that. Something that makes everyone go, yeah! Those things are fine. He helps you out, gets you out of the jam, gone. Maybe, he'll remember you. So in the future, if you ever run past him again, there's a chance the GM could roll and say, yeah, Han's like, yeah, cool, I remember you. So there's always that. But on page 26, they actually have some good introductory rules here that help out. So they have 8 useful things to remember about game mastering. Number 1 is you can't learn everything at once. So while you can read this book cover to cover, unless you have that eidetic memory to help you with the photographic of remembering everything, you're not going to remember everything, and you're not going to learn how to play it all at once. Playing a game, a new game especially, is trial and error and practice. So all I could say is you let everybody know, which your friends should know and should be grateful enough that you're running the game, that, hey, I'm learning it just like you're learning it. So everybody just will be learning at the same time. Understand the rules as best as you can, and then talk them over with the players that have any questions about the rules. So session 0, after you're making your characters, should be something like, all right, does anybody have any questions about the rules? Anything that was confusing? These are the following rules. I hear some house rules I've come up with to make things a little easier. What do you guys think? That's what session 0 is all about. And generally, that's when the players will be like, oh, well, I had some trouble with the skills. Did I do them right? I didn't know if I, added this in. And what about this skill? Does this really apply? Do you think it'd be useful during this campaign? Things like that. So expect to use common sense and extend the rules. Not all the rules are going to fit every situation. Minor rules, don't waste too much time looking up. My rule of thumb is for ruling and rules is you're the GM, you're running the game. As long as everybody knows that you're ruling it and doing it fair, this is what you're going to want to do. You're going to say, okay, right now, for argument's sake, we're going to allow this or that, but we'll look it up later when we have a break, and then we may want to change that going forward. Generally, players are most accepting of that and won't give you much of a hassle. And if they do give you a hassle, just smack them in the face. No, I'm kidding. Just tell them, listen, we're here to have fun. I don't want to get bogged down with rules. And nothing is more than boring when you're playing a game. It's more than effing boring when you're playing a game and you're not sure about something, and then that person flips out the book. Oh, I need to look. And flip, and you're all sitting there waiting. No. Story trumps rules. Story trumps rules. GM makes a ruling at the time with the note saying we will look it up later and make the final decision of how we're moving forward. That's it. It's simple. Just people have to learn that when they're playing any game, that sometimes the GM has to make a ruling. As long as it's fair, most players are just like, all right, cool. We'll talk about it during the break. Also, expect to be wrong when making those rulings. You just got to admit it. Whoops. Sorry. Or if you're playing the game and you say, oh, yeah, use this skill, and the player's like, well, last time we used this skill and it really applies here. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm sorry. My bad. Go ahead, use that one. You're going to make mistakes. You're only human. Just own up to those mistakes. So be fair. Earn your players' trust. Play cheerfully. If you don't pick on people. Sometimes people will think you're picking on them. Just try not to. Let the dice decide things. And if you're using a GM screen, which you should be, you will sometimes want to rule in their favor. If you think something is going to kill them and you really don't want to kill them, that's why you have a GM screen, so you can hide rolls. So, yeah, it's cheating, but it's in the player's favor. So with that said, you can also just, make things hit, but different conversation. You're going to want to be impartial. And when they say impartial, you're going to want to try to get into the mindset of the NPC, the villain, the bad guy in your adventure. And you want to think like them in the situation. So if the player characters are all hiding behind a steel wall, and you're the bad guy, you're coming down with your gun ready, and you're looking around and everything, you're not going to automatically, beeline to behind the wall where the character is. I've seen players do this quite a lot, and it's more metagaming than anything else. And we were playing a game one time, and in the room was dark. You couldn't see anything, but in the corner was, we were using a map in minis. There was a injured person knocked out. So, and then there was a monster, or I should say, some type of monster. I can't remember what it was at the time. In the other corner, waiting for us. So one of the players says, "Oh, I entered the room," and we all came in with him. Our characters put in the room, and he beelines across the room to where the downed person is, even though he could not see in the room, but he could visually see it as a player. Some people have problems separating the two things, so just be impartial. Play the characters, the NPCs, as if you were playing in a game and thinking like a character. You don't want to do things that don't seem right. Be prepared. Well, number 7 can apply in different situations. Being prepared, I think, in my case, is having some idea of what your adventure structure is going to be and how you want to lead the group for that night. This tells you want to use published adventures like Rebel Breakout, and study them and think about how to present it to the characters and the events they contain, how to anticipate the reaction. No. If you're that type of GM that can do that, by all means, go for it. Use published adventures. Imagine every possible situation that the character is going to do, but you're never going to figure that out because players do what players do. And what they do is everything you can't think of. Trust me. There's no way for anticipating actions. Doesn't work. Unless you're a mind reader, then how did you get that power? Because I want that power. Be entertaining. Ham up your characters. Do voices. Over describe things if you want to. Try to give everybody the sense of wonder in the universe. Describe that cantina with the extra grit on the wall, the light music playing in the background with the Twi'lek dancing around the pole. While I'm talking like William Shatner now. Why? I have no idea. But the bartender, maybe, he has an eye patch in one arm and he looks really gruff with a scar across his face, and he comes over and he says, "What do you have?" Do a voice. Do something like that to make it entertaining. Get into the role. Do a little bit of role playing. Don't just make it all about, all right, you're going to the bar. It's dark. A couple guys in the corner. You hear some music. Oh, yeah, there's a girl dancing. And the players just there like, okay. Nothing worse than that. Try to give as much description. Ham it up. Make it suspenseful. Do things. And I think the most important thing is right there in bold letters at the bottom. Relax. It's just a game. You're going to make mistakes. You're just there to have fun, just like the players. So with that said, we're going to just end it here this week with some GM tips on starting up your campaign and things to remember while doing your campaign. Also, lastly, I'm going to say, make sure you take your own GM notes, because unless you record it like I do with my actual plays, then you may forget. And if you don't write things down, or at least jot down ideas, or you have that eidetic memory that we talked about, you're going to be in trouble. So with that said, keep it original, keep it old school, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video around. Good night, everybody.